Hi there, everyone. Welcome to the electrifying realm of transformation and truth. I am Baron Baptiste, and you've just stepped into the sanctuary of disruption, where we're shattering the chains of mediocrity and soaring into the limitless skies of awakened humanity. I'm here with David Masters. David, how are you?
Always better when I'm here with you, Baron.
Yeah, I mean, really, right? Like,
Yeah.
I always walk from these in a new way and state of being and doing, taking on, new things in life, great things in life that, well, great for me anyhow. And even just in the smallest ways, I think that what we create here, this is like the heartbeat of where we can be authentic, the canvas, and we paint on the canvas where honesty takes center stage and the drift of default living gets shaken to its core.
Man, is
How
that
about
good?
that?
That's great.
All right. Well, get ready, everyone. Because we're driving headfirst into the currents of what's happening in the world. And we're going to do this through a question. Someone sent in a question, and it's, I think, a really good one. And you all, please send your questions to disrupting the drift at baronbaptiste.com. You can also post questions on the YouTube channel. The YouTube channel is, if you go to Baron Baptiste podcast, I think it's called that, and we post two of these episodes, these podcasts each week. So if you want the visual, you get to see David's pretty face and my what would I be? I don't know, my good looks. How about that?
There you go.
But the question here has to do with authenticity. So here goes. Someone sent this in, and I really like this question. I think it's so relevant to the world we live in. I think so many people feel suppressed, or they're coming from a place of fear in being themselves. And so, what happens when we operate out of some kind of fear of being ourselves, or we're hiding ourselves, or what we really see and what we have to say? We inherently become inauthentic. So I think this question is really apropos here. So here's the question. I feel I am an authentic person. So I feel I am an authentic person, but I'm waking up to the reality that I am wearing a different face for different people. How do I know if I'm being authentic, and how do I get there? Yeah, I like this, David. What do you have to say?
I love this question. I mean, it's again
Hmm.
one of the most fundamental questions you have to ask yourself. And whoever wrote this is already saying that they're aware that they're putting on different faces for different people.
Mm.
But here's what I will say to you about this: the authentic self is the self that reveals to you that you're not being authentic. And so the idea that you're putting on different faces means that you're aware that you're trying to work your way around people who may not take kindly to you being altogether authentic. Because what happens is when you become really authentic, it starts to threaten people who aren't where you are, and they feel it and it makes them uncomfortable. And, there's a certain part of everybody that has a little bit of a people pleaser in there that
Hmm.
wants to be loved and accepted and patted on the back. And so the question is, why are you putting on different faces for people? And is it because you want their love and acceptance? And if you don't put on those faces for those people, do you feel that they will reject you? And if that's true, well, maybe that would be the best thing that ever happened to you. Man, I got to tell you, I wish I had a $10 for every toxic person I dumped in my life. I would be a rich man. There's no end to the number of people that are sort of artificial and toxic and not real. And what they do is they tug on you to be like them. And I don't want to be like anybody else. I just want to be me. There's my
Well,
short answer.
yeah, yeah, very good. Well, I think that that's the flip side of it, right? Like you kind of drop people naturally when you're being authentic, when you're
Yeah.
being genuine, when you're being true, when you're being real, when you're being you. not the lowercase you, but the true you. You know, you are wearing it on your sleeve. And I think that, there's something about embracing bold authenticity. And to me, what that means is you are unapologetically expressing yourself. But here's the thing, in the face, or even in the face of criticism, because it's in the face of being criticized or disliked or rejected or attacked, that's where it really counts. And that's where you discover you and a true confidence, I say. And also, to your point, the dropping away of people who really, they're not for you. And I say they're not for you in both senses of the statement, because they're not for you in that they don't want what's best for you. And then they're not for you in that they're just not your people. They're not the kind of people you want to be hanging around with. They're not for you and what you are up to in living true and in congruence with your conscience, with the truth, with your creator. And I think, to me, the thing to really fear, it's so weird, right? We have it backwards. It's like we fear people. I think in the Bible, it says something about fear no man,
Hmm.
something like that. And it's like, if you're living true, it's not about others in that sense. It's about truth. But then it inherently becomes about other people and for other people, contribution to other people, permission for other people to be true and to be who they are. Because I think we do, well, is it we discover ourselves through others? I know you, David, have been someone for me that I'm inspired by when you talk and I listen, and I'm inspired to be a more bold, uh, yeah, authentic version of myself because of what you demonstrate. And other mentors in my life, the ones that I think I ultimately really respect, they're boldly just who they are. They wear it on their sleeve. They're not looking for approval or, what are like a politician polling for what, people want to hear, but they're really coming from truth, come what may.
Look, you're the kind of person who loves the truth enough to forsake everything else in that sense. Because, and I know myself, I'm a great lover of truth. More than anything else, I do love truth. And because that truth is freedom. But I do know that I can be very disturbing in my authenticity. I can be overtly honest, and I can be obnoxiously honest to people who are not interested in the truth. And so I have in-laws and people, and I have to kind of tippy toe and around some kind of people, but I'm
Hmm.
consciously aware that I don't want to destroy my wife's relationship, let's say, with people that in her
Hmm.
family. They're
Yeah.
not like me, and I recognize that they're not. So they have their own tribe. And, if you watch the Avatar movies, each tribe has its own traditions and customs. And, the American Indians have theirs. And everybody comes from a tribe of some sort that has their own traditions and customs and beliefs. And so when you walk into that world, you're in their world. And so
Hmm.
what I do is I probe to see whether or not there's somebody in there that I can actually open up to and talk a little bit, and we get
Yeah.
my wife
Yeah.
always says to me, just be careful what you say, because I mean I could set up
Yeah.
a whole domino effect of
Oh
crazy,
yeah. Really quick. Yeah.
but so I'm
Yeah.
I'm consciously choosy. In other words, I'm not putting on a different face. And I think they want to make this very distinction here. I'm just not being the whole me. And
Hmm.
I hold back enough so that I don't upset the apple cart. And there's times where I do, and then then there are
Hmm.
rippling effects from that. But see, I don't necessarily need those people approval or love or acceptance. I
Hmm.
I don't care if they
Hmm.
like me or not, but at the same time, I don't want to create an atomic war between. these
Yeah,
different
yeah, yeah. No, very
tribes.
good.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Well, no, you bring up a very important point. So it's like where and when, with whom do you be um, just true? And do you ever have to abandon being true? And you know what I mean by that? Like, can you
Sure.
be with different people without like the question here is from the person providing the question to us is like, well, I'm discovering that I'm waking up to the
Hmm.
fact that I put on a different face for different people.
Yeah.
Is it possible to be with different types of people from different walks of life without compromising or selling out on your authenticity, truth?
Yeah.
It's like that, right? And that's what I'm hearing you share. It's like I have friends from all walks of life, different political extremes. I've got
Yeah.
friends on the far
Yeah.
progressive left. I can take them in, small doses. But I'll tell you, most of my friends on the far left, let's say, are more like politically, I'm speaking, are people who also have sensibility. And I get that where they're coming from in their beliefs, they really believe, they're doing the right thing or they're being compassionate and their beliefs are consistent, who they yada, yada. And then I have friends on the far other extreme, the far right, who same thing. It's like, I don't agree with all of it, but I don't have to agree with either side or people. I don't have to agree with their worldview. I don't, but if there's enough there to find, like, okay, something to connect on, some access to humanity, but without, here's the important point here, I think, in this conversation is without selling out on yourself and being willing to stand in the face of no agreement, being willing to stand in the face of criticism and speak your truth, knowing that people will reject you. There's also a time to do that, to stir the pot, right? To stir the bottom of the barrel, to disrupt the drift, to disrupt the status quo, and to boldly embrace authenticity that is congruent with your inner knowing, your intuition, your conscience, like that, from higher guidance. And I think, where is there in there, do you see, David, where in there in these kind of situations or when you're environments with different people, do you just wear it all on your sleeve out loud, on put it on loudspeaker, what you think, what your worldview is all the time, everywhere with everyone? Or do you kind of go through, like you're sharing with your in-laws and different family and different, and I think this comes up a lot in professional, like work environments where people are working with a lot of different people and they have to maintain professionalism and not,
Yeah.
knock the apple cart kind of thing too much. So how do you find that kind of the nuance in there, the
It's actually
sensitivity? Yeah.
it's very simple. First of
Yeah.
all, be a good listener. So in other words, there's a good
Hmm.
time to wear what you believe on your sleeve, but then another time is then when you're sort of among people that are from a different tribe,
Yeah.
you go in and you listen and you pick up on clues from people what they really want to talk about. Second part of that equation is uh, make yourself interesting enough to people so that they ask you to tell them who you are. Because
Yeah. I
once
love
they've
that. Yeah.
asked you, they've opened the door, right? And
Yeah.
then you don't just push the door open, you kind of go in slowly and you walk through with a thoughtful way to connect with somebody. And so they may be talking politics or they may be talking some kind of spirituality. It doesn't matter what it is. There's a naturalness to discovering what to say, in the right thing to say at the moment, as long as
Yeah.
you don't have your own agenda, because you're not out to try to change anybody's life. What your mission
Yeah.
is not to be changed. And by not being changed, you
Hmm.
begin to have an interesting exponential effect on a crowd, but you don't know it and they don't know it. But if you're not moving into what they are literally having an effect from you that they're not conscious of, and you're not trying to do anything, you're just being you.
Yeah. 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 Very good. Yeah. I'd like that. I always used to like to say at my trainings, if you force people to get it, you don't get it. And whatever get it is, it might be, a belief you have, a view you have, or a truth that you just know. You just know. But if you try to force anyone to see things your way, you try to force someone to get some thing that you think they should have, uh, you don't get it, because there's something about be and let be,
Mm,
and without compromising who you are.
yeah.
I think there's, okay, live and let live, but if you are doing that from an inauthentic place, you're not listening. But you're not listening out there, but you're, more importantly, what I'm pointing to is you're not listening to the inner voice of truth. Because you can observe someone being a clown, or you can observe someone having a very off um, interpretation of something, or their outlook. And there's a time to confront that, for sure, no question. But then there are times where you just let it go. It's like, you know what? This person just needs some more time to suffer in life. They'll come to their own. Um, they'll come to their own revelation in their own time. And I'm always someone who likes. I used to do this with my kids. What I'd call like a little drive-by lesson. I'd be walking through the house and see one of my kids doing something, and I just find a moment, and I would just like point out something they're doing, or something I see. I just find a little a window of opportunity, and I would just drop in truth and see how it lands in that moment. And if it lands on complete, deaf ears, then, as Jesus said, don't throw pearl before swine, but put yourself out there and listen. Put yourself out, put your voice out there, and then, yeah, listen, like really listen. And and when I say listen, I mean listen from no agenda, listen from nothing, from no thing, just clear.
Mm,
And you listen, and you will know people just by really, if you're really listening. There's a presence in authentic, we could call it authentic listening.
mhm,
There's a presence of your being. There's a greater presence. You're present. This is my experience I'm talking from now, but when I'm really listening, like authentically there, I'm present. Yeah, I'm present to the moment, like the Buddhists like to say. I'm present in the moment, but I'm present to something greater. I'm present to the presence of, call it creator, God, conscience. I'm present to something greater, a presence of something that is greater than myself, and it's allowing me to know that person, and to see. I in that authentic listening, I am seeing the unsaid. I'm seeing what that person is not saying.
mhm,
I'm seeing through the mask that that person is wearing. And in that authentic listening, I'm also present to my own
mm,
inauthenticity,
mhm,
where I'm self censoring, or
mm,
I could be bold and boldly authentic and just say the thing I could. And something is prompting me to do that, but I deny that
mhm,
erroneously, misguidedly. I'm not acting on my conscience, because maybe my conscience is actually pulling something forward for me to say,
mm,
but I don't. And in that moment, I'm aware of myself being inauthentic.
mm,
Now I'm
mm,
censoring. Now I'm managing
yeah,
perceptions, because if I say it, they may not like me. Now that's different. Not saying something because I might not get their approval, or they may not like me, is different than not saying something out of a higher, what would you say, like a higher guidance, a
yeah,
higher uh, knowingness in the
mm,
moment.
yep,
Like, I don't need to say anything. I don't need to try and change this person. out of wisdom, I'm electing to not say anything.
Yeah.
Different than not saying something because I could be disliked.
Here's the thing, and
Yeah.
what you said is so perfect, but and I wanna dovetail this into it, which is an authentic person has no need for judgment. An inauthentic person is constantly judging everything, and it's based on their judgment of themselves.
Mm,
And so when we go into relationships or we go around people and we start putting on other faces, we've internalized something that we suspect that they feel or see about us. And we're coming to that moment from a judgment on ourselves more than a judgment that comes from other people. Because if you internalize other people's judgments, then they have a voice inside of you. Then you are trying
mhm,
to find their voice and not yours. And so if
mhm.
even if it's a perceived thing where you think that somebody might not like you because of your politics or your spirituality or whatever it may be,
Mhm.
you're internalizing that, and now you're taking on, when you talk about, authentically seeing that you speak to people in various different ways, that's the authentic self that's showing you that.
Yeah.
And basically what it's revealing to you is, wait a minute, hold on. Stop judging yourself first. To thine own self be
Mhm.
true. Don't worry about how these people see you. Don't worry about how they
Mhm.
feel about you. Look at you and see you as you are, because otherwise you're
Mhm.
going to see the world through other people's eyes, and you cannot help but try to speak to them in their voice, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Yeah, very good. Yeah, I know for myself the access, the beeline to my own authenticity. So here's the part of the question that we were asked is, how do I know when I get there? Or how
Hmm.
do I get, to this place of authenticity? I'm pulling the question up here again, but it's, yeah, I feel like I'm an authentic person, but I'm waking up to the reality that I am wearing a different face for different people.
Hmm.
How do I know if I'm being authentic? And how do I get there? I'll tell you. So to me, the beeline to authenticity is the ability to acknowledge where and when I'm being inauthentic.
Hmm.
To be able to say, "Oh wait, Baron," like catch myself, like, "Wait, Baron, you're not being real right here. Clean it up. Correct course. Get real." Like it's and being able to say that out loud, to wear that on your sleeve,
Hmm.
to be authentic about where you're being fraudulent or where you're
Hmm.
hiding or where you're withholding something,
Yeah.
just to call that out. Just even to call out, like, hey, I used to ask people to do this at trainings when I was training people to how to, facilitate a group. And they'd get up to the front of the room to talk, to give a talk to the group. I would say, whatever is right there for you in that moment. If it's nervousness, if you want to get it all right and say everything perfect and manage, well, say that. Say, hey, I'm up here, and right now I want to manage how you see me. I want to have you really like me. And okay, good. Now I acknowledge that. Now I'm getting that out of the way, stepping in front of it, and I'm just going to be right here with you and speak straight from my heart. It's like acknowledging the inauthenticity that you're aware of, very powerful. And if you even give that voice, or it's like, right now I want to shrink back, or it's just, you don't have to say it out loud, but there's a power in doing that in the right situations. But I think, whether you want to have a real heart to heart conversation with someone, a friend, your husband, your wife, your son, your daughter, your sibling, you're wanting to have a real conversation. Maybe the place to start is where you, right in that moment, the default would to be phony. Like what I'm going about to say is like, you're so great, everything's so wonderful, yada yada, and then, but actually that's not what's going on.
Hmm.
Here's what's going on.
Hmm.
And I see that I've been, hiding, I've been withholding, I've been kind of shutting you out, I've been giving you the cold shoulder. Like you own your own nasty. If you've been nasty, you own your nastiness. If you've been hiding, if you've been manipulating, if you've been gaslighting, if you own it, like just tell the truth on yourself. And if and maybe the situation doesn't call, maybe you're in a work environment, or yeah, with a bunch of in-laws, and so it doesn't work to call that out loud on yourself, but it's just within yourself. You just see where you're being phony in the moment.
So
Tell on yourself,
you know the
to your
yeah.
creator, give it up, hand it over
Yeah.
to something greater than yourself, and then get real in that moment.
So you know the answer to this, but I'm going to ask the question anyway.
Yeah.
Who is the most important person in the world you want to accept you?
The most important person in the world that you want to accept you. Well, would it be myself,
Of
yourself?
course. Of
Yeah.
course. And if
Yeah. If
you
you
don't,
can't, no one else can.
nobody is going to. The
Yeah.
most important person in the world for you to accept is you. And if
Yeah.
you're not accepting yourself, then you have the opportunity now to look at the reasons why. And I got to tell you, most of it is exocentric. Most of it comes from the outside in. Most of it is
Mm-hmm.
generated by people who you think have expectations of you. And then
Yeah.
their expectations become your expectations of you. That's not authentic. See, being able to say, I just want to be me, because that's all I actually want in my life, is just
Mm-hmm.
to
Mm-hmm.
be me until the very last minute. I just want to be myself. I don't care if people actually love me or hate me.
Mm-hmm.
That's not the focus of life. The focus of
Yeah.
life is being as much of you as you can be. And if you can't accept who you are in that sense,
Yeah.
you'll never be at peace. You'll never have happiness, and because you'll always be
Yeah.
reflecting what you think others expect you to be. And that's the
Yeah.
painful part of that.
Well, because you're a liar. You're lying.
Right.
And who you're left with when you're lying is yourself as liar,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
And it's, I had the opportunity before my dad passed away. I had a few years with him of like coming clean and telling him, you know, actually apologizing to him for judging him, holding a sword over his head, rejecting him, just having hatred in my heart toward him, like all this stuff that, I got to let go and just say sorry. I had been a jerk. And, and I got to say all that. And then when he passed away and I had that last opportunity in the like whatever the sitting room, or where his body was there, he was
Mm.
dead, and and
Mhm.
you get to go stand around with him, and
Yeah.
the whole family left the room, and I stayed in there with, it was just my dad's body and me, and I put one hand on his head, one hand on his chest, and I felt perfect peace. I felt perfect peace because I knew that um, I was honest. I was straight with him about the past. And I know it, like in programs and trainings I've led people. I remember there's this one woman came up to me and she's like, I just judged my mother for years and years and years.
Mm.
And now she passed away. And I know, what do I do with that? And I
No
was like,
closure. Mhm.
yeah, give it over to God. And I said, and maybe write a letter, just write out everywhere where you were being nasty, where you were being fraudulent, where you were being a victim, not taking responsibility. And for you as an adult who you are now, because you do have say. So when you're a kid, you don't know better, but when you're an adult, now it's your life. And likely your parent, if they're a decent person, you never know, they're nasty parents too, but even if they're nasty, a lot of times way down deep underneath, they want what's best for you. But you just write it all out, get straight with yourself. And if you cannot be authentic and truthful and boldly honest with yourself and with your creator, you're cut off. You're cut off from life
Mm.
force. You're cut off from that line of communication to yourself. You want to restore a line of communication to yourself. You must come clean. Maybe that's the meaning of repentance or some aspect of it, but you need to lay down your old prideful ways and life and pick up a new life, and a new life based in truth.
Yeah. Amen.
and
That's
get a new life. I mean, you get a new life,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
So, yeah,
That's a great story, by the way, that you said, because a lot of people never do get that closure by coming
yeah,
clean, by
yeah,
just, emptying the trash and just letting it out. And
yeah.
definitely, I would say it's one of the best things you have uh, thought this day
Mhm.
is that let if there are people that you still have unresolved issues with, go and just be yourself and just say, look,
Yeah,
I was this way and that way, and if you
yeah,
can say you're sorry, be sorry, because the person you're letting off the hook is you, not them.
yeah, yeah, very good.
Yeah.
All right, very good. I think it's a perfect place to wrap up. You all, thank you, and please share the show. The way we are growing this show is organically through you sharing the show. So, yeah, share the show. All right, David, be well, y'all. Peace out. Be safe. Stay blessed.